There are tools you're always going to have on you no matter what mode you're playing. So making sure you're able to do the most with those tools can make an outcome of a fight be completely different than if you didn't. So with these videos, I hope to give you the knowledge necessary to get you towards mastering the MGO Tools of War. The stun knife is one of the most important tools in your arsenal. I'd argue it's just as important as your primary weapon, as it has both lethal and non-lethal capabilities. This makes the stun knife possibly one of the most versatile weapons you can have equipped, and you don't even need to have a skill equipped in order to use it, though there is benefits to doing so. The downside is that it's one of the most execution-heavy weapons in the game, requiring certain tricks to boost its effectiveness. But understand the techniques and master them enough, and you can suddenly be crazy enough to bring a knife to a gunfight. Using the knife is easy enough on the surface. You can ready it with L1 and move around as you would with a gun. You can't aim up and down with it though, but you can if you go into first person. The knife has 2 lethal attacks and 1 non-lethal. Hold R1 to stab and hold R2 to stun. The stab is a one-hit kill no matter where it hits. Same with the stun. You can tap R1 to slash with the knife consecutively up to 5 times. Unlike guns, the knife cannot be aimed by the direction of the camera. Instead, it's always character dependent. So if your character is facing the wrong way and you try to ready the knife, the camera will turn and align to where your character is facing instead. This means you have to be very aware of how you're controlling your character when using the knife and use your character to aim instead of the camera. First person though can be camera dependent depending on what settings you have on, but hopefully you're not using player direction in the settings. If you have it set to camera direction as well as have first person memory enabled, you can aim the knife instantly in any direction your camera is looking. However, this does mean you have to actively remember if you have first person on or off. This applies to all your weapons at any given time, so it's pretty tricky playing this way. This trick is mainly only useful if you really need to do a 180 knife kill. Any other way of using the knife is perfectly fine though. It seems simple enough to understand, but if there's anything with MGO2 that's consistent, is that you can always take things further. Like with the stun knife having both lethal and non-lethal available, why would you stun over just outright killing? Well, for one, it lets you get points for both the stun as well as the kill, so that's going to be important for the end of rounds if you end up in a tie. If you end up doing it in a safe area, you can do all of the other stuff you can when you stun someone anyway. You can take their weapons, scan them, humiliate them beyond belief, you know, the usual stuff. The thing is though, is that the knife has to recharge after you try to stun someone, so keep that in mind when using it. Blades Plus is the skill that revolves around using the stun knife. It does reduce the recharge time, but it's not enough to warrant taking up all the skill slots that it does. Oh, and slashing and stabbing speeds increase with the use of Blades Plus as well. Slashing and stabbing have their own caveats as well. The last slash in the 5-hit combo makes it so that you cannot move until the animation is done, even with Blades Plus equipped. On top of that, you do need Blades Plus just to be able to slash and move at the same time. Moving while slashing can seem very useful, but it practically requires Blades 3 to make it near impossible to react to it happening. The speed makes it very useful when catching people off guard and getting damage in, especially in a mode like Team Sneaking. If you have Blades 3 and CQC, you can slit the opponent's throat. Nothing much to really add here. It's an instant kill that requires grabbing the opponent first, which means it takes a lot longer to do this move than anything else you can do with the knife, and the skill slots it takes really means committing to it. It's fun to use on occasion, but not something I use intentionally very often. Stabbing, when done normally, leaves you open and unable to move until the animation is done. Add the animation being slower when not using Blades Plus and you can see why that can become a problem. Stabbing is where most of the high skill ceiling of using the knife comes from, because there is a way to make the knife super fast to use while doing it. It's time to talk about animation cancels. You can cancel the stab animation by unequipping the knife. You can also do it by holding X to cancel by going into prone, If you time it right, you will be able to skip the recovery animation of the stab, making the knife much faster to use. It works for the stun version as well, of course. In fact, to practice and nail the timing for the animation cancel, you can use the stun version as a visual guide to figure out the timing. Because if you cancel too early, the attack won't come out. So to get the timing down, practice by stabbing and canceling the moment the stun happens. Then once you're familiarized with that timing, do it with the lethal stab and try to do it more consecutively. You can also practice by just doing the lethal stab in quick succession over and over again. Because if you cancel too early, the attack won't come out. And that's the start. You can take it to another level by adding movement into the mix, by moving around and then trying to do the stab. And then to go a level higher after that, try doing the same thing against moving targets with both lethal and non-lethal stabs. There is another trick that you could potentially add into your knife game, and that is being able to use the lean properly. In MGS4, if you hit left and right on the D-pad while in first person, you will lean in whatever direction you're pressing. This has various uses, but for the knife in particular, it means that you get to move the hitbox left and right as you're stabbing. So, if somebody's trying to juke you and dodge, you can technically lean left and right to be able to potentially expand the hitbox enough to hit them. This primarily has its use in one-on-one knife fights, but if you use it in situations where the opponent can't do anything, like when they're getting up from being knocked down, you can use it to correct your course when stabbing if you think you're gonna miss. The only thing left after that is getting used to having to do all of that in an actual match where it actually counts. Though you will find out pretty quickly that there is counterplay to using the knife, though its effectiveness can vary. Let's start with the common situation that you can get into for when you need the knife. Let me know if this sounds familiar to you. You grab somebody and slam them to the floor. From here, you can aim the knife and stab them. Most of the time this will work, but depending on the game lagging or not, which is often, there is a chance you can miss because the person rolled out of the way. Now, if you have blades 1 or higher, this situation is mostly inescapable. Again, MGO being laggy means you gotta expect the unexpected sometimes, but this is usually the most common situation that may happen in the game. Other situations like trying to stab around a corner or someone backstepping you to get out of range don't happen super often. Rolling into people and then knifing them when they get back up is a common enough situation depending on the game mode. You just need to be really quick about it. A lot of using the knife is about being able to predict where your enemy is going to go and intercept them. Especially without Blades Plus, the knife takes a good amount of time before you fully extend it out to actually kill somebody. Of course, your skills are always important, so to end this off, let's look at a few skill combinations that work well when trying to use the knife. Blades and Runner are always a good pick because you'll get the speed as well as the better knife utilization. Whichever levels you go with, you can't really go wrong here. Blades and Scan EX is good for if you're confident in your ambushing and you want to support your team. Blades and Box 3 is a very specific and hard playstyle, but that one is very satisfying to do well with. You can ragdoll enemies with your box and then follow it up with a stab or stun. The part that's hard about it is that the game is desync when it comes to ragdoll positions, and the timing that you need to master in order to hit them just as their invulnerability wears off. There's honestly so many playstyles you can do that don't even require Blades Plus to be equipped to make them useful. For example, the one that I've been using is with the Master Key on the M4, where the entire premise is to shoot people to knock them down with it and then to follow up with a knife stab. Honestly, I didn't even know you could do this back when the game was actually active, so this is an entirely new playstyle for me. So go ahead and experiment and see what works for you. There's a lot of stuff to try. The knife might not be the main tool you use in MGO, but having the knowledge and skill needed to make the most out of it can really let you free up some skill slots and use skills as needed. So get to practicing, and hell, show me your best knife kills by using the hashtag MGO2 TOW. I look forward to seeing you all improve. And as always, I'll be seeing you all on the battlefield. He's probably gonna have so many questions about that one. I would be questioning that one too. I'm gonna be real. But like, you guys saw it here first.